Hello from the road. If you're joining me, thank you. If you're watching me on YouTube, please like and subscribe and all the things. Ring the bell, do all the things, please. It really helps me out. I promise you'll be blessed. Alright, so with the semantics out of the way, I feel as if a new journey has begun. The only fool in life is the one who believes that they know it all. Because you can't ever know it all, no matter how much your ego tries to tell you you do. Because as soon as you honestly start believing your own crap about knowing it all and believing that you truly are the center of it all, that's when life, the universe, God, it doesn't just throw you a curveball, it sets the whole pitching machine directly in front of you, and it pushes the button on fully automatic and launches thousands of baseball's worth of lessons straight at you, usually in your face and your groin. True story. So, how do we get into the kingdom of heaven? How do we end suffering? How do we do these things? You're going to have to stop resisting and surrender. That's the answer. It's that simple. It really is that simple. Now, a lot of people, I guess all of us, it's complicated to explain. You're going to have to surrender. You have to surrender everything. Everything that you are, everything that you think you are, everything that you think you know, and everything that you know. You're going to have to surrender it. Including who you think that you are. You're going to have to surrender it. You have to surrender to this moment. You're going to have to surrender to the next moment. You're going to have to surrender to many moments. There is a time to be a resistor, and there is a time to let the current flow, and that is when you are in the state of surrender, when the energy can flow through you. And it's so funny. I want to bring something up as an example. Recently, in Alabama, good old heart of Dixie. Yip, yip. Hide your cousins, because the other cousins are coming over. So, in good old Alabama, recently passed House Bill 445. Now, I'm going to summarize this very quickly. I'm going to give you all the ins and outs of it, but basically, essentially, they shut down the THCA. And I'll tell you, just trivial detail here. I tried it And I knew they were going to outlaw that before it was even a speck in some crooked politician's eye. I said, no, not in Alabama. This ain't going to fly. And not that I do those things because I practice sobriety. Now, practice is a long call from success, but I am pretty successful at practicing sobriety. I basically can say I don't drink and I don't smoke, and it actually means it. But that's not the point. Now, I will say this. Occasionally my brain locks me in a prison and I can't unlock it. I think I've got it now. It brought me to this. And I would have to use that stuff so I could leave the prison. And you ask, well, what kind of prison is that? Or you're a vegetable in a corner? No. That's why I'm talking about this now. I am a gladiator of a resistor. You understand? Most people, they get a nickname like Hoss and Cowboy and things of that nature. But you know what? I was lucky enough to look like what people have nicknamed me. And it's really awesome. A lot of people call me Viking. Say, that's the Viking right there. When I was a mechanic, oh boy. Forget about bloodlust. I had oil lust. When I work on a car, people, they tried to stay clean, but not me. Boy, I wore the blood of my enemies upon my face for the world to see. Where they had fallen, I surely still stood. And their blood was motor oil, transmission fluid, coolant. Forget about bloodlust. I had the oil lust. But so when I would have to use that, it was because simply I did not know how to surrender. I could listen all day long. About, well, if you just give it up, if you just surrender, if you just give it to the cross, if you just give it to all these other things, yeah, you can tell someone to do that. But some of us require detailed instructions, or it's no good. Sorry if it's choppy connection. This is Alabama. They won't, just like lighting all over these roads in the state of Alabama, they also won't provide internet signal across the state of Alabama. That's worth a crap. So I don't know how it came about, and I don't know how it clicked. Just like all great things that come to me, it happened. I have a unique ability. Probably not unique, but I know things that I have no earthly reason or business knowing. I know things that I shouldn't be able to know. That there is no fathomable way that I should be able to know things, but I know them. I'll give you an example. So, about 10 odd years ago, I had a boss, and he really got on my nerves, and I got worked up. Boy, that anger energy was flowing, and out of nowhere, I didn't hear a voice, but it's like I knew what to say. I had a thought, so for lack of a better way to explain it. And the thought said, tell that man, just because he grew up without a father doesn't mean he can act like that. And I did it. And I had no way to know he didn't. And I was right. It was right. I had no way to know that. I would never have used that as an insult. It was, you only hear people talk about, God talked to me. God tells me things all the time. In that exact way. I'm shown things. I don't hear a voice, but I'm pushed in ways. And you can say, well, that's not God. That was cruel. You misunderstand God completely. And that's not the point of this video. I was making an example. God has a sense of humor. All right, guys, you know, to him that was probably funny because it happened. There you go. So we're getting back on topic here. So what do I mean by getting my brain, my mind? The mind and the brain are not the same thing, but just for this simplicity. The mind locks me in a prison. I get trapped in the room of the mind. And I would, before I figured this out, I would use that. It wasn't every day. It was maybe once every 6 months. I don't know why it would happen. It just would. And that would shock the brain, the mind, the body into release. And I didn't think of it that way. I just said, okay, every once in a while, just like you get a flu, I get this. And this is how you make it go away quickly. Because if not, I could sit there for days. I could sit there for days. Just replaying the thing in my head. Talking at the thought like that's going to change it. And all kinds of things. So, you know, I want to get at this. The people, I forgot my original point that led to this. I went off in the wilderness for 40 days, but that's okay. So, I want to say this. That House Bill 445 was recently legalized, signed into law, all the things, whatever. I want to say this first and foremost. That what I'm leading up to, you know, you do not need the things to get to that state of consciousness, as they call it, being stoned, as they call it. You don't need that to get there. You don't need that to get to where you're going or where you're trying to get to. I haven't fully figured this trick out yet. But I can trigger the same state minus the drunken, not being able to see straight or drive part. And I believe it is tied to surrender. I never thought of it in this way. But that plays a role in it. It has to at least play a role in it. You have resistance and you have surrender, and when you have resistance, you block the energy. You block life from flowing through you. You block yourself. And when you have surrender, you have flow. The energy can move. Life can move through you very easily. You have surrendered to life. And if you haven't caught on yet, life can mean a few different things here. Life can mean energy. Life can mean the force that moves through. Life can mean the life thing, you know? I mean, I think everybody understands what I'm saying here. And, you know, Alabama passed that bill, and I remember when I was a kid, and, you know, I heard that yoga used to be illegal in Alabama. And I'm going to get to why that probably is. And it sounds racist as hell, because who practiced yoga in Alabama? Indians, right? Like the actual Indians. Sound like Christian lobby might have been trying to keep Hindus out of Alabama. You know, y'all probably got some stuff in common, considering that modern Christianity has copied a lot of Hindu ideals and adapted them into their club. And there's nothing wrong with that, but at least, you know, at least admit when you borrowed someone's stuff, right? Don't try and hide it and act like you came up with it. That's not the point. That's egoic in nature. It really is. So I'm going to try to get to the point here because we're closing in on the house and I'm tired. And so House Bill 445 passed. No more of the THCA, no more of the vapable things or whatever is what I understand, trying to sweep it out of the way. Yoga was illegal, and that ties into this. And when I was in school, something I remember was about 6th grade, the teacher was panicking. The whole school was panicking because there was music, according to them, that you could listen to, and it would make you stoned. They worded it in school terms, but that was what they would say. And years later, as someone who walks on a spiritual path and walks through these things and walks with God, so to speak, what I came to realize is that Alabamians do not understand what it is to have a clear mind and a focused mind and a pointed mind, a relaxed mind and a non-chattering mind. They don't understand it because when I talked about the headphone thing that I just mentioned, there's music you can put on. Whenever I was in 6th grade, they talked about this. There's music you can hear in a headphone and it'll induce, you'll be stoned. And then the fact that Alabama had outlawed yoga, it all started to make sense. Alabama's not scared of a flower that grows. Alabama's scared of their mind shutting up. Alabama's not scared of a little flower that used to grow like ditch weed and weed. Alabama's not scared of that. Alabama is literally scared of when their mind shuts up and they become present, because that's the state that gets produced, is presence. But it has the drunken twist when you use the flower, right? When you use the chemical component to achieve that state, you get that drunken feeling. And you feel drunk, but they refer to it as a high. But it's really, you produce this state, just like that, minus the drunken part. You produce that by being present. Yoga, in how we think of it in the West, but that's slowly changing. The Hatha Yoga, the yoga of force, the contortionist edition of yoga, that will produce that state too by force. There are other ways to do it without having to tie yourself in a knot and without having to hold weird positions. There's many ways to do it. I do it, and I would like to learn how to do those things for exercise and stuff, but I can do the thing. I can do it without having to do the postures and the poses. And what I'm getting at here is that Alabama do not understand what it's like when your mind shuts up. It scares them. The people of Alabama, ladies and gentlemen, scared of their own shadows. There is an enemy under every rock. There's a demon behind every tree. And there's wickedness all across the land everywhere. Nothing is beautiful. Everything's out to get you. Everything is a horror movie to the people of Alabama, including when they become present, even by accident. They become afraid. That doesn't mean everyone in Alabama, but the people, we know who I'm talking about. We know who I'm talking about. If it don't apply, let it fly. That's beautiful. That's poetry in motion. I didn't write that limerick, by the way. I forgot who did, but it's beautiful. I'm going to turn around up here and go home. But I wanted to say that, and I wanted to say this. All right? That Surrender is probably the biggest key to this state without the substance being required. Surrender. And what I mean by that, you don't have to just surrender in an awful situation or an awful time. It's great there, but you don't have to do it just there. You can surrender to the present moment. Turn all your music off, turn all your podcasts off, turn all the things off, and just sit there. And whatever is happening around you, the birds chirping, someone knocking on a nail next door, whatever is happening, you just accept it. And this is surrender. If you go through life resisting everything, you can't resist everything. You've got to balance. That doesn't mean surrender to every last thing. You practice this. You can practice on a radio song you don't necessarily want to hear comes on the radio. Guess what? You let it play anyways and you listen to it. That's surrender. And someone, all kinds of things. And there's different degrees of how difficult surrendering is. All right? Someone saying things you don't like, see how long you can listen to it. If you tune out on it, you lost. The practice is over because you're not hearing them. And thus you're not practicing surrender. You're just practicing evasion and running away. They forfeit. So, I know, you can hear people say things in Alabama, well, this is Alabama, if you don't like it, leave it. Well, I was born here. I have a birthright to this state. And I say that if you throw trash out of a window, which is a big problem here, and you get caught, you should have to pick trash up for a week in the hot Alabama summer sun. And if someone throws trash out in front of you while you're being punished, and say the person supervisor sees it, they should turn the other eye just so you can see how it feels, and you can learn that it's painful. But I'm going to tell you the truth. As many people from Alabama I know that litter, that throw things out the window, I have a feeling that they wouldn't get that message. Instead, they would jump up and down in frustration, and they would say, I got caught. This sucks. If you hadn't caught me, it wouldn't be. If only I had thought before I threw that trash out the window. It wouldn't be that. It'd be the former. So, anyways, guys, I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about surrender, and this is the new journey. I'd like to say a little prayer. If you're into that, good for you. Come with me. If not, this is a part where you get off the video. I appreciate you listening. You're always welcome. I say this, we're going to make this short and sweet, to the point, just like Jesus said. Pray directly and simply. And I say, God, thank you for not just calming the roaring sea, but for teaching us how to calm the sea. And not just to calm it, but how to stand upon roaring waves and be unmoved. And God, I say that in times when I seek salvation, you are the mountain of my refuge. And that you alone teach all that is worth learning. And that in surrender is when I find strength, and when I find the power of choice, and when I find that I become unmovable, unshakable, and undestroyable when I surrender. And all things of this world that seek to do me harm fall right off of me. Just like rain on a stone. And I say, God, send the Holy Spirit. Send the Spirit of fire that will cleanse and purify me. And I say thank you for all the things, for all the blessings and all the curses. I lift you up on high. And I seek you always in union. Amen. All right, guys. Have a good night, and I hope everything goes your way.